get here? How did I get here podcast?
How did I get here? How did I get here podcast?
How did I get here?
How did I get here? How did I get here podcast? Bam. All right, welcome back to another episode of the How'd I Get Here podcast, the podcast for positivity, progression, and helping us find our own path. Dude, it's been a long time fucking coming. And
It has been.
Before I introduce the guest today, who I'm sure most of you guys, some of you guys, none of you guys may know. If you're a fan, you do know. I've just been dragging my feet. And I've been meaning to get back, and there's been a couple unforeseen circumstances that you can't plan for.
Same with all of us.
And that's life. That's life in 2020. That's life in COVID. But I vow to you guys to try and get something to you every week for the rest of the year.
Wow, that's a good promise.
It's
I'll
a
hold you to that.
Please do, because it's a promise to you guys. But like, I'm now starting to find traction. Back with excitement in myself and things that I'm doing. So, but this episode's not about me. I just want to say, guys, I'm sorry that I've been MIA. Brandon Sarefino, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me, Jason.
We haven't done that in a while. Brandon Sarefino is a good friend of the show. He's been on many episodes. The relationship episode, which was a great one.
Yeah,
if you haven't watched
classic.
it, go back. Yeah. He was in the Legacy episode way back in the beginning. So I like to start off every episode with, who are you?
Okay.
Sure. Take that as broad or as wide as you want. Who is Brandon Sarefino?
Yes, I am indeed Brandon Sarefino. That is my name. I am an artist, musician, producer, generally a creator of sounds, I like to say. I went to school for music at Trinity College here in Hartford. Graduated in 2014. I specifically focused on world music, so I studied in Brazil. Studied Brazilian.
Wait, you went to Brazil?
Yeah, I lived in Brazil during college.
Absolutely.
Influenced by my professor Eric Gom. So a lot of what I studied in college was related to world music and world percussion, and I incorporated a lot of that into my own music. I'm not originally from Hartford. I'm from the Springfield, Massachusetts area.
Word.
That's where I was born and raised. And I'm just trying to make some cool shit with my art and take it as far as I can, and hope to just inspire others and collaborate with as many people from across the globe as I can. That's kind of why I love to do it. So,
Word.
Others, so.
One thing that I love that you keep saying is art. You know what I mean? It's not just music, it's your art.
Absolutely.
How did you stumble into this art, music?
Well, I started young. I was probably 5 or 6 years old when I first picked up an instrument. It was pretty prevalent in my household growing up. Like, my mom sang. She sang throughout her childhood, and she did a little bit of opera.
So she was good.
She was good. Yeah, she was really good. She's still good.
Because some of our parents sing it, they're not.
I know. My parents, they're the real deal. Like, both of them still, and then, so that's my mother. Like, she sang growing up in the household. She sang in choirs throughout college and things like that. More like traditional classical music and church music, things like that. And then my father, music was his whole life until his mid-20s, early 30s too, and he ended up doing something more practical. But he still plays guitar. He's an amazing guitarist. I say primarily he's into like blues, R&B, folk music. He plays acoustic, electric. So I grew up with a lot of guitars, like just laying around the house like this. Like, he had a whole tree. He had what he called a guitar tree that he would stack them, and you would like spin them, like whichever guitar you want to play. You like pluck them off, and they're kind of like a collector's type of look. So he collected, and like he was really into that and played growing up. So I first played with him, and then I just got deeper into it. In middle school, I sang in some choirs and messed around with like writing poetry, writing lyrics.
So you write your own shit?
I write all my own
stuff.
So
you ain't like Drake?
No. But I will say, I think it's a different approach for like a songwriter of pop and like alternative music. Like, we don't take yes, you take pride in writing, but it's commonplace and accepted to like co-write with people on songs. Right. It's not the same pride that a rapper has to be like, I write my own shit. Like,
Yeah.
I do take pride in it, and I love it. But one thing my managers and people in my circle and team always try to impress on me is, like, it's not a bad thing to, like, co-write and get outside your box and have people push you, especially in my genre, which is more, like, on the songwriting, singer-songwriter side. So
All right, word. So I was going to hop to your song since you brought up your family, Make My Dad Proud. But before we hop into that, I want to get into the first question of how do you describe your song? Because the song, I hear you pop, right?
Right, sure.
But then there's some times where I hear you like the song Darling that is...
right.
It's got a different sound. But
Take a ride down the west side. I'd never leave you alone. Trust me, darling. This you won't regret.
You sound like you just said alternative.
Right.
So how did you get to the sound that you have that is Brandon Sarefino?
So this has been like a long time coming with like how I define my sound, right? I talk about it with my managers, with my producers, with Zach and Zulu who make a lot of my music with
Word.
me.
Shout out to them.
Yeah.
Zulu. I don't know if I've met Zach.
Yeah,
Definitely
Zach
shout
and
out
Zulu.
Zulu.
Shout out both of them.
Word.
They've been down since day one. I would say if we're gonna umbrella term, I'd say like pop R&B, like R&B,
Okay,
pop
word.
R&B, like somewhere along the lines. Obviously, heavily influenced by soul, R&B, and pop. My voice is on the more R&B soulful side, but I definitely make like stuff that I think can appeal to a lot of people. So therefore,
Word.
I call it pop. But I wouldn't consider pop a bad term. I don't call it bubblegum pop or stuff that we have on the radio necessarily. But I think it has broad enough appeal that you would have to call it pop. That's what most people put me in the box of. But it's definitely inspired by everything I grew up on, the bluesy sound, and then in college, the world music sound, the global sounds that I incorporate a lot. Having worked with Zulu, Caribbean music is like a huge influence because Zulu's Jamaican and he puts all that flair into everything he does.
Word.
And when we produce together, it just comes out with a lot of rhythms that somewhere between like dancehall, calypso, soca, like everything Caribbean, like it finds its way in there because of how we produce.
So did your trip to Brazil, how did that affect or impact, I should say, when you were finding your identity as a singer and your identity as an artist and your sound?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I went to Brazil before I was writing a lot of my own music. I was like a junior in college, and I lived with a family down there. I would say it found its way into the percussion and the rhythmic side of what I do, like heavily. I studied samba down there and like the samba drum schools, and everything they do is about rhythm and like different rhythms and just how they incorporate that into their melodies, into their song structure. So I didn't notice it right away, but when I came back to school and I played in a samba group, shout out Professor Gom again, back at Trinity, and there's a big Brazilian population here, we would play all over the city. Once I started writing music, I noticed I leaned heavily towards that very syncopated, very danceable, kind of just like, it's like, da, 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 da,
word.
Da. So it's just like all that kind of like lilting, breezy, very laid back, mellow, danceable rhythms just like found their way into my stuff. Right?
Word.
For sure.
So how did, I know you broke down that your parents were both artists, musicians, singers. How did that rope you in and not push you away? Because some people might feel like that's pressure, Make My Dad Proud.
Shit, no one else can hear and I like it. Sitting on my couch with my feet up. None of my time gon' free up. Trying to make some money for the re-up. I told my dad I'm gon' be stuck. Time is gon' pass me by. And I look back one day wishing I did that. So we could just fight the night as the world burns on. Man, I think I risk that.
Yeah.
Did that bring... Talk about the song
Sure.
first, and then if your parents being successful, did that add pressure?
Ironically, the Make My Dad Proud joint wasn't so much about my dad's musical abilities or me trying to fill any shoes in that capacity. Like, I think because neither of my parents chose music as a career, I actually didn't feel the pressure.
Word.
Like, it was always a hobby for them, and I think they always saw in me that I had an even stronger passion for it than either of them did. Like, my dad would say growing up, he's like, well, you're going to take this farther than I did, because, like, you have a confidence and a belief and an ambition about you that, like, I didn't really ever want with my music necessarily. Right. So I didn't feel the pressure. I kind of just found my way into it, and they were like, well, if you want to pursue this, you can, if you can make money doing this and make a living. But Make My Dad Proud was more like along the lines of, that was just me against myself being like, as I get older and I'm in my late 20s, like, when will my father look at me like I've made it and I can do things, and I'm fully capable as a man to do things on my own, and like take the music as far as I want to, and just not rely on anybody else, and also make him proud in the sense of like he raised me right, and I don't need to worry about who he is as a person anymore, or like his flaws, or just everything, you know, just standard like self-consciousness about like being the next like kind of like man in the family, and like will I live up to that?
Word. So speak to that thought of how do I word this? Because you're not looking for validation from your dad.
Not necessarily.
But you are looking for him to be like, I did a good job.
Right. It's not validation like, oh, look at me, like, did I do this right? Did I do this right? It's more, there is a pride that I want him to see in me. And I think as my parents get older, like they're in their mid to late 60s, and as I get older, as time passes, you feel the pressure of carrying on the torch of your parents more than you did when you were younger. And I don't think I gave it much thought in my early 20s. I was just exploring and doing my thing and messing up and you know, making mistakes and all that. But I think in the last year or so, when I was writing that song, what came to mind was just like, don't be lazy, don't procrastinate, have the same work ethic your father had to get to where he has, which he's made a successful life of himself, and he's raised a successful family. And it's like, I just felt like for my own good, I wanted to be like, remind myself as a little mantra every day, like, am I doing things that would make my father proud? Because like, I'm pretty proud of what he's been able to do. Like, I do look up to him as a role model. So,
and in return, does that mean make yourself proud?
Absolutely, because I see my father as a role model. So if I'm making him proud, I definitely feel like that's a good mark for making myself proud.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Word. So, at what point did all this click? I want to do music. So, 5-year-old Brandon, I know you said like you grew up playing, but did you always want to make music? And then at what point did you say, I'm going to take this serious?
Right. So, well, I wanted to be in the NBA.
Really?
And then I stopped growing at 5'6.5". So that dream pretty much died, although I still ball on all you motherfuckers. So don't get it twisted. But that died about like, I mean, through high school, 15, 16. But I basketball was still my first love with music, and I really did pursue that for as long as I felt I could. And then the music was always there. It's like a 1-2 with basketball. And at first, I didn't know which aspect of music I wanted to do. I was really into being a producer. Like growing up, I think the main thing that I looked up to was like the likes of Pharrell and Timberland and like people behind the boards, the masterminds, the Kanyes. Like those are the people that got my interest more than just the singer, the person in front of the mic. But as I got older and I realized my singing ability was starting to outpace everything else I was doing, like not as many guys sing when you're young, when you're a teenager, and if you're confident doing it, people start giving you validation like, oh, you should keep singing. Like, you got a good voice. Like, don't just produce or don't just do this. So I think throughout high school, I knew I wanted to study it in college, but it wasn't until late in college, and I credit it to like singing with an a cappella group and getting more confidence on stage, and being in front of people. And yeah, seeing the reaction and seeing the validation of like, oh, people react when you sing, they react when you perform, and it feels good, and it's a great release, and it felt therapeutic to me to be on stage. That's when I was like, okay, maybe I don't just want to produce. I still want that to be a big aspect of what I do. I want to produce my own music heavily, but I do want to be on stage. I want to be an artist. I want to create my own artistic vision. So it was like late in college. I was like 21, 22. And then when I graduated, I like hit the ground running with like, I'm going to find a place to record. I'm going to start writing. You
started taking it more serious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Word.
Yeah.
So listening to your music, and I've known you for some time now, you would think you've been heartbroken a couple times because you write a lot about about love.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Sure. And the reason I respect it is because today's society says guys can't have feelings.
Right.
Guys aren't allowed to be in touch.
Let me be the first to tell you.
But that's why I respect it because, I mean, when I was in college, my boys, shout out B-Day and the boys up Rodigis, they always say, they used to call me Draco because I was always in touch with my feelings and my emotions, right? So first, can you speak to like where you find the inspiration behind some of your songs or behind your music in general?
Yeah. It sounds cliche, but it really is just like you write what you know, you write from experience. I'm not in the position to be writing about how cool my lifestyle is or how, you know, how rich I am or all this stuff that like is the glitzy R&B hip hop side of things. Like maybe someday, but right now my life has been relationships. It's been struggling and fucking up while you're trying to be an adult as a young adult in the real world. A lot of what I write about, I feel like the themes are and I don't know if I wouldn't say I've necessarily been I've experienced heartbreak from one person, as in like somebody broke my heart from a particular action, but you feel heartbreak with certain situations you go through. It's not always actually a relationship. It's not just like one thing or a woman doing this thing to you, where it's just you could feel heartbreak. You could feel heartbreak for the loss of your childhood or moving on to do to a new place or growing apart with somebody. You know, it's just like these things can evoke the same feeling. So I just write from my experience. It is therapy to me, so it deals a lot with my mental health and my anxieties that I feel, and I just put that stuff down. So, yeah.
And that, because I've had relationship conversations with you, I'm a paraphrase, by the way, with your song Brand New, which the other day I was riding in the car, and I ain't gonna hold you, I forgot that I had it in my library, and I knew it was like, oh, this is Brandon. And I was like, yo, I never heard this shit before. This shit nuts. But yeah, no, I actually fuck with that song. But before you hop into the hook the first time, you say, don't want to ride your wave, I just want to find my own.
Yeah.
I just want the truth, and it skips a couple bars. A couple more drinks, got us feeling brand new. Sick of playing by the rules.
Don't wanna ride your wave, just gotta find my own. Got no soul to save, devil by my own. Well, keep me on my toes, break the silence. I just want the truth, couple more drinks, got us feeling brand new. So much on my mind, but I'm trying to keep my cool. Sick of all the games, sick of playing by the rules. Meet me on the floor and I'll teach you how to move.
Right? So would you say life or relationships in general is that there are these rules that we have to play by?
Yeah, for sure. I think when I was writing that, I was in a particular place in my head where I was avoiding lots of feelings. I was distracting myself. And yeah, I was writing from the perspective of like I was getting a drink by myself. And at that particular time, I thought about a night where I'm just like, I'm sick of everybody else's feelings being in control of like what I'm doing and like how somebody else might feel. And I just got to do what's right for me. I just got to feel what's right for me. And so to say I'm sick of playing by the rules, yes, with love, I was sick of playing by the rules. With society, I was sick of playing by the rules. I was sick of working shitty jobs to pursue my music career and just living in the system we live in today where you're always just hustling. It was like a lot of things of not playing by the rules at once. And I was just thinking about it, and I was just like, man, I can't please anybody. I can't please myself. And I was just like, I just wish that all these societal things that we have in place about love, about future, about marriage, about career, long-term relationships, I was just like, can we just take a break from it for a second and live off instinct or, you know, live off of what we're feeling in the moment right now, which gets you in trouble a lot of times. But it's like, but you know, that's why you write a song about it. So
you just said something. This is like totally abstract. We're probably gonna go down a rabbit hole. You said live off instinct. What does that mean?
Well, I've been told by others and by myself often that like I can be a very impulsive person, and I do live off my gut and my instinct a lot, which I think is really beneficial in a lot of ways because a lot of people ignore that. But you have to temper that with like logic and like planning and things like that. And that's as I'm getting older and I'm in my late 20s, I'm like, okay, the instinct side, the Brandon side in his early 20s, pursuing everything he wants, music, taking random jobs, staying out all night, do whatever he needs to do to get to the studio, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's still all well and good, and that's the ambition, but I'm trying to, like, balance that with, like, having a 3-year plan and, like, setting goals and sticking to them and not procrastinating and being there when other people need you for particular things. So, yeah, but I would say a big thing in my music is instinct. Like, I write my music instinctively. I don't sit down and pen a lot of lyrics. I'm not saying I'm Jay-Z and I go up and sing everything on my mind that becomes a song, but a lot of the ways I make my music and my art is is super instinctive and it goes off gut. It's got to be the first melody that comes to my mind, the first beat, whatever beat I make, I go with that day. Like, so it's just
it's what you're feeling.
It's what I'm feeling, and I feel my way through life.
Word.
I try to feel my way through life a lot, as opposed to think my way through life. But you gotta balance.
Nah, that's love. That's love. Yeah. So you said it the last two moments of working shitty jobs and things like that, and I could speak to when I was like grinding. It's a grind. And bro, I've worked at Uber. I've worked at Town Fair Tire. I've worked at Evelyn's. I've worked some jobs that like, and I did when you're just a normal kid. It's like, oh, that shit's fun. But right, exactly. So speak about the hustle that you go through to make music happen, and how you continue to not get discouraged and stay motivated.
Well, I mean, that's a great question, because it's something I'm not going to lie, it's something I still battle through to this day. Like, you're always going to get discouraged. Like, they say life's not a linear, it's like this up and down thing. But, I mean, I'll say this, but my first job out of college was a full-time job in New York City. I was so discouraged. I was like, I'm a prisoner of the moment. Like, I stuck in a bad job. I'm like, this is never going to end. Like, it's a dead end. I'm going to be here forever. Like, how do I get out of this? I'm already looking to the next thing. But my best piece of advice is, like, keep the goal in mind and remind yourself that this is a step in the book of your life, and like, it's not the end game. And I struggle with that. I do struggle with that. As I said, I think I'm a prisoner of the moment, and oftentimes when I take a new thing on, I get a little down on myself, being like, oh, how did you get caught in this? But then I remind myself, as long as I come home, I continue to work on my music, I keep the end goal in sight, and I'm like, it's going to build your character, you're going to learn things, you're going to challenge yourself. I've worked in restaurants, I've been a kindergarten teacher, I've worked for tech startups in New York, high-powered people. It's been all over the map. Right. And it's all been in pursuit of my dream.
Of that dream.
And as long as I haven't lost sight of that, and I feel like I'm gaining on the way, and I don't feel like I'm hitting a wall, then I don't get discouraged. And I see that, like, I'm putting out new music, it's growing, more people are responding to it, I'm making connections with new fans and other artists and things like that, then I don't get too discouraged. As long as it's a slow, stepwise, gradual thing.
As long as you're progressing.
As long as I'm progressing, exactly. Then I'm not going to be too upset. Yeah. As long as I don't feel like I'm hitting a brick wall. And I've been blessed enough so far in my life where I feel like every year there's a little improvement and growth in what I'm doing musically. So that's all.
So how do you, because that's how you stay motivated. Right. How do you stop from burnout? Because, I mean, I was going at it for a long time, and I was blessed, like you were just saying, found something that was my purpose, something that made me happy. And now that I'm working with kids again and also coaching, I'm also finding that I'm excited about soccer again.
Absolutely.
So how do you stop from burnout?
I think I have burned out before already. I think there was a time, up until the last 2 years or so, I was working jobs, and then Zulu and I were going to studios till 2, 3, 4 a.m., either with ourselves or collaborating with other people, and then I'm getting up and going to work, and I'm living the artist lifestyle at night. And I could do that through like 25, 26, but I got tired. And nowadays I noticed, like, to avoid that, I did change my lifestyle. I had to. Like, I feel a little bit like an old man, but I changed it. Like, I don't really do sessions with people at midnight anymore. Like, I know my body, I know my voice. Like, I get 8 hours of sleep, 7, 8 hours of sleep most nights. I eat 3 times a day. I drink a lot of water. But like, this all happened. It takes discipline, and I'm not great at it. But the last few years, exercise, things like that. But it really was a lifestyle thing. I was burning out from being like, I'm an artist. I can do this. Like, I can do this into my 30s. But your energy changes, and I couldn't do what I needed to do. I was feeling fatigue. I was feeling crazy. So, and I was burning out from before the pandemic. I was driving in New York City like every week, because my management's out there and my other producers out there, and I'm doing shows out there. So it's cheaper to live in Hartford, but I was driving to New York like every 5 days, like in my car, 2 hours there in traffic, 2.5 hours back, come back in the middle of the night, 3 a.m. to go to a random job on like a Monday morning. So that's changed. Now I'm like trying to find balance into when I dedicate time to work, when I dedicate time to like exercise and health stuff, and then dedicate time to music. Because it's just like, I was never good at planning, but I'm getting better at it.
And I think you hit on is finding that balance, because as much as you want to do music, you're no good making music if your life isn't also here.
Yeah, you know. Anymore. I used to run off adrenaline, but like that shit crashes after.
No, absolutely, and like kind of like I was telling you before we got started, I'm literally pouring into 4 different cups from each other,
Right.
and they're never ever going to be full, which means I'm never going to be full. So I definitely hear you finding that balance.
Yeah,
So you just brought it up. You know, your management is in New York, so you're managed by Major Stage, right?
Shout out Major Stage, Marco Miguel.
Where hey, we gonna do big things with my man right here. But how was that? Because I remember the first time I got an agent for soccer, I was like, bro, this is the best thing. Yeah, like that.
It helps to have support, man. It helps to have a team. It helps to have people that validate what you're working on and believe in you and see the vision. I'm super grateful. I was doing shows with Major Stage. Like, they put on showcases throughout New York City. That's what they're known for. So all different genres. And they partner with venues and they do like really big shows. The first people that found my music on SoundCloud, the first song I put out, Frequency, like 2014, they hit me up on Gmail and they were like, yo, we found the song, do you want to come do a showcase? And I knew from day one, like, oh, they're seeing what I'm doing and they're believing in it. So that was big. And then we just continued to work by me doing some of their shows. And then about a year ago, they brought up the idea of managing me full time. And I felt really comfortable with them as managers because they were the first people to notice what I did, which is always a good sign. They believed in you from the beginning. They believed from the jump. They're not trying to jump on anything, or like, try to take advantage. They're super great dudes that are looking to promote and be an amplifier for good music and help emerging artists in an industry full of snakes, to be honest. So, I mean, it's just facts. So,
no, I hear you.
And people that want to take your money, take all the credit, and take percentages and all the wild shit that absolutely gives me anxiety. So I signed with them last year. I did a year, and I just re-signed another year with them.
That's love.
And they manage, they help with marketing, they help with creative visions, things like that. It was an adjustment because I was used to doing everything myself, and to have other opinions and other people help you on the business side and be like, these are decisions you might want to make to further yourself. That was a new approach for me, and I can be somewhat of a naysayer. I can be like, no, I want to do it my way, I want to do it my way. Right. So we definitely, it's not to say there weren't times where we butt heads, but that's normal when you get into something where you want people to help you and they're going to have their own ideas about how to go about that. But the best thing you can do is be open to ideas and flesh them out and decide who has the best idea at what time, and just like the best idea wins and try it. You know what I mean?
Because at the end of the day, you guys are collective.
Absolutely. It's got to be collaborative, and that did take some time for me to figure out, but you got to remember they have your best interest in mind. Right. Just trying to take it to the next level. And sometimes people know better than you do, especially as artists. Like, artists really are stuck to their own ideas, and they have to open up and be like, allow for people to have opinions on what they're doing.
Word. So, dream clients. I know you brought up like the Pharrells and the Kanyes earlier.
Yeah, I got a few. I got a list.
All right, give me your top 3.
Okay, top three. Pharrell Pharrell's probably number 1.
Hey, Pharrell, come on the show, bro.
James Blake is probably number 2.
Ooh.
I'm a huge James Blake fan. Production-wise, I just think he'd kill it if we could get in the studio. 3 is either, I mean, obviously the 2 big ones. Pharrell and Timbaland are like neck and neck for like, they're so influential on my production style and their use of synths and sampling and everything they do, the funkiness. So either Timbaland, Pharrell, and James Blake. Also, this might surprise some people, but I'm a huge Bon Iver. I don't know if you know Bon Iver. Wow. Justin Vernon from Bon Iver. I think he's a genius production-wise. Obviously, he's worked with the likes of Kanye and all these other people. Right. He's more on the folky side, but what he does is just genius to me. So he's up there too. It's hard to choose 3, but those are some big ones. And then I've always been an MIA fan my whole life. So
wow.
Fire to work with MIA. Man,
she's like my throwback. Yeah, it was like
high
school.
But for those that know, if you know, you know. She's been keeping it up the whole time. It's just she hasn't been as big in the United States stateside.
Right.
She's big internationally. So,
exactly.
And I've always rocked with her, and I think I think people have bit a lot of her. There's a lot of stuff fashion-wise, vision-wise, and musically that she and people in the know people have stolen and bitten from her. Right. And she never really got proper credit, but I know. Yeah. I know MIA's.
Hey, MIA, get my man's on the track, bro. Stop playing.
Yeah. And she's a producer too. She's a beast. So.
Word, that's love. You've hit on it a couple times how therapeutic music is for you. talk about one, because I think everybody can relate to how shitty things have been due to COVID, but how music is an escape for you.
Yeah, I mean, it always has been. Listening to music, creating music, collaborating with people. I don't know. I think I just turn off the side of my brain that overthinks when I'm creating music. There's no room for that. So when I'm in the studio, it feels a bit like it's a bit of a sanctuary for me. It's just like the basketball court, honestly. It's like you're very much in the moment, focused on a task, focused on creating is such a mysterious thing. Like, I don't know where it comes from.
Word.
I'm not sitting there coming up with melodies and coming up with lyrics. It just kind of flows. You're in the state of like flow, they call it.
Right.
And it's kind of this like psychological state where I don't really have room to think about anything else but what I'm creating in the moment. And obviously it's a vessel for my emotions and things like that. So I found myself just turning to writing and singing especially, the act of singing, like literally the act of exhaling and pushing out energy from your mouth is like, that alone is just like super therapeutic. It's
right.
Just, it just is. I think for most people that sing, it's an act of letting go, of release, and yeah, it's always been that way.
It's your piece.
Yeah, absolutely. One of them. Yeah.
So you brought up how you used to play basketball when you were younger, and now obviously music is your passion. Does music sometimes bring back some of that nostalgia that you talked about in your Hoops nostalgia track, or did that feeling of like, hey, this is it, like this is what I'm supposed to be doing?
No more. Now we really keeping score. Way past 24. Same bounce as before. The ball still hits the pavement. It reminds me of a time when I was patient. I was dreaming of astronauts and angels, of the things above. Street light got me pacing up and down the block. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Still taking shots.
Yeah, there's a connection I drew between that. Like when I wrote that song, there's a few tiers to that. Like music reminds me of basketball because of my passion for it, and the competition. I find it like competitive. Like I'm naturally competitive, so. With basketball, you want to be better than people. With music, I mean, you're lying if you don't want to say you want to make better. You want to make not better music than other people, but you want to be the best version of yourself, and that means like you're gonna naturally compare yourself and be like, I want to be the best at what I do.
Right.
So it's competitive, and I'd like to be competitive with it. So when I was writing Hoops Nostalgia, I was thinking about that ambitious young person that was dedicated to staying out at night with no lights, like shooting hoops and getting better at your craft, and just like that feeling of ambition and freedom when you're young and anything's possible.
Right.
And I was just trying to reconnect with that at a time in my life where it's a little harder to feel like anything's possible, but writing a song called Hoops Nostalgia just kind of brought it back. Like, no, you can still be your 16-year-old self inside and like think that the world is at your feet and like
Word.
you can
That's
do
love.
whatever the fuck you want. So.
That's love. Now, one of my favorite tracks of yours, Perfect Time.
Saw you sitting on your own, so lot of confidence to walk in solo. It was only for a moment. Stole a glance, that's a damn good omen. Truth is unnoticed. You're grabbing my focus, thinking about rolling. Need your mind on me, but the way you walk past me gonna make me spill my drink. In your eyes I see your pain. Didn't get your name, but it was perfect timing. And you hit me like lightning. We spoke in silence as I watched you move, cause it was perfect timing. And you hit me like lightning.
That's one of my favorites too.
It's hard not to, because it has that like that Latin sound, or like the sound that you were referring to with Zulu.
Yeah.
You can just blink twice. Did someone specifically inspire that?
Honestly, I feel like you want me to have a particular answer here, but
No, I don't.
I'd like to say yes.
Word.
I think somebody had an influence on it, but I can take you through how this song
All right, go ahead.
came about, and it might make better sense to you. Yeah, I was feeling myself. Like it was the first time. I think this is what's dope about it. It's the first time that me, Zulu, and Zach Golden, who's based in New York, got in the studio for the first time, the three of
Word.
us together. And that night, we drove all the way to New York City to Universal Music, where Zach was working at the time, and we went up to like whatever the 16th floor, whatever at Universal. Zach met Zulu. We took out our laptops. We started 4 hours later. We had perfect timing.
Really?
Yeah, and like it started with Zach. I think it got real. I lent it more towards feeling myself and talking to a girl at a bar and
Right.
the whole like kind of play between two people that had just locked eyes but are trying to like feel each other out. Because Zach came up with this chord progression that was like that very Latin feeling of them.
Yeah.
And it was playful. It was sexy. It was
Word.
like. So I went straight into like, because it was perfect time.
Word.
I was just like feeling that. But yeah, I would say, you know, of course my personal life influenced it. I was in a good spot at that time with somebody new. But it was also just the vibe that moment. Like sometimes it just comes out and then you write about a particular thing
Word.
based on the sounds that were coming out of it. And Zulu came in with his drums. And I was just like, this has got to be some sexy shit. And that's what they're saying. Like, Brandon, you can't play with this one. This has to be about.
You gotta kill this
You
shit.
talking about to a girl, like locking eyes with a girl, and like, you know. I was like, all right, let's just go for it.
Word. Now, I've just got like a couple more questions, really, but right now in America, there's just a lot of shit going on.
Yeah.
The day we recording this, September 30th.
Oh yeah. I think
So I think we all know the shitstorm that went on yesterday in that debate.
Jesus.
The racial injustices that have been going on all year. And you as a Caucasian artist, right? People think like, or might think like, oh, he might not have a say, but like, what can music, specifically your music or you as an artist,
Right.
can affect, though not affect, but maybe
For sure.
you know, have a say
Conversation at least.
exactly
Yeah.
about those topics, things going on.
Absolutely. It's been something that over the last few months, not just myself, but I feel like artists have struggled to articulate
Right.
exactly what to say, because you almost feel like right now music is like, I feel like you fall in one or two camps. Like it almost feels irrelevant. There's so much going on that you're like, me putting myself out there and needing to say anything feels like
Word.
like useless. Like what can I add? What can I add to it? And who wants to hear music right now? There's so much worse going on with the racial injustices and pandemic and everything that's going on in politics. So there's that part where you almost feel a little like in despair because you don't know how to fit in.
Right.
But then there's a part of me that's like, art and music is the only way, one of the only ways that one, people collaborate and come together. Two, they are willing to listen to other perspectives when it's on a song, a lot different than when it's just somebody talking or on the news or something like that. So, I mean, the last few months, a lot of what I've been writing is just from a more personal perspective on how I feel about things and what my place in it is. But I think a big part of what I'd like to do and what I'd like to do in the future is to just spotlight and collaborate more with people who might not get their voices heard otherwise. And it's something I did when I was studying ethnomusicology too in college, is like, where are the gaps where people in art and music are not being heard?
Word.
And maybe I won't sing on something, or maybe I won't speak on something all the time, but maybe I can produce something or create a sound or a bed for other people to make music on. And I think that's where my production would come into play more. Like a lot of people I look up to, especially as like a white artist, I'd like to be the person that can maybe make the beat, create something, but give it off to somebody else that can better articulate what's going on. But I feel like that could be my contribution.
Word.
As opposed to just one more white artist being like, woe is me, racial injustice, things are rough. Like, yes, that's great, and I appreciate people that do that too, but everybody's got their place, and if you don't feel like that's what you want to add to the conversation, there's other ways to get involved. You know what I mean?
That was a great answer.
I mean, I think about it all the time.
Word.
I mean, obviously, and I, you know, to be honest, like I run in a circle where there's not many white people in my circle, to be completely honest. So it's like I talk about these things all the time, and I just try to find ways to be like effective and to progress the conversation without being like over the top about it,
Right.
being too like white saviory about it.
Right, right.
Because I know a lot of people that do that stuff, and that's just not me. That's not really my role, and not
Word.
really my vibe. So
Word. So, last question.
Mhm.
3 months, 3 years, 1 year from now, where's Brandon Sarefino? What's your expectations, hopes? What's your plan? Let's manifest that shit right now.
okay, I'd say like 3 years from now, I want to be. I will be collaborating with artists from across the globe and working on cutting edge sounds, production wise, with artists from South America, from West Africa, from the Middle East. Those are kind of 3 places I really want to continue to visit. There are 2 of them I've been, 1 I've never been to, and I want to travel. I want to make music, and I want to push the envelope of pop and push the envelope sonically of things like that. I don't want to be another cog in the mainstream music machine.
Word.
I want to follow in the steps of people that I look up to, like the MIAs, like the the James Blakes and Pharrell, and just create my own soundtrack. And I want to bring it back to venues that don't traditionally do it. Like I want to perform something with heavy 808s in the middle of like a museum, like an art museum, with like a choir from Brazil.
Word.
Like I just want to bring it all together. I want to bring high art with music from different parts of the globe. I just have all these visions in my head.
Word.
Yeah.
You know what would be dope? I would actually be here to like do this with you. Let's save money and just like for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, just go backpack. Document the shit. And just all the places. Yeah, that'd be 2021 summer, save up money, I'm here for it.
I'm like, I have such wanderlust right now for travel, like
I
COVID
bet.
and everything. It's
I
just
bet.
like I'm crawling up the walls trying to travel and get out and collaborate with people.
Word.
Yeah, that's really the goal. And then eventually I want to teach more kids to produce and songwrite and bring it to have my own space where I can, like a literal physical brick and mortar space where I can have a studio and a creative space to teach kids how to make beats. And
you know what I appreciate? We've been talking probably like 30 minutes now, 40 minutes now. You've not once mentioned money.
Money is not my motivation, man. It's
Word.
just not. I mean, that would be wonderful. I want to be stable.
Right.
But that's never been the motivation. And I feel like, unfortunately, if you're an artist and you're motivated by that, that's fine. That's all well and good. But like the people I look up to and the people that push the art forward and push the sound and develop cutting edge, innovative shit, they're not doing it for money. Because if you're doing that, you're never doing it for money. You're just chasing a sound or chasing what's popular. So
yeah.
Money's never been a motivation. But don't get me wrong. I mean,
you gotta eat.
You gotta eat.
Protect your chicken.
I think if I still continue to do what I do, I can make a lot of money doing it.
Right.
But even already, I realize that's just not happiness. It's just not happiness. I've already seen
Word.
What makes people happy, and it's just not that. So.
Word. Well, you know how this shit goes. We give 15 seconds of fame, talk your shit. Can we expect any new music from Brandon?
We can. I haven't made the official announcement yet, but I'm submitting a new song to streaming platforms by next week. It's called Regret Me. It's a dope vibe. It's a little danceable, but definitely has some introspective lyrics and some stuff for people to chew on. And that should be out in like about a month.
Okay, word.
Maybe a little less. And then after that, I got a lot more music.
Word.
During quarantine, I've been stocking up. I probably have like 25, 30 songs.
Damn, that's low.
Done. So
don't do what Chris Brown did.
No, I'm not putting
drop 20.
Hell no. That's just for streaming numbers. They do that to double up on streaming. I'll be putting out singles and videos for the rest of the year and into 2021, starting this month. So
okay, word.
Beyond.
Was that your 15 seconds of fame, or I mean, I asked. I mean, talk your shit.
That's what it is. Follow me at Brandon Sarefino. Serafino, people mess it up sometimes. That's Serafino. You know, Instagram. Really just Instagram. I don't really use much else. I'm not really on Facebook or Twitter or anything like that. But definitely follow me on Spotify. That's honestly more important than Instagram. So follow me on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, all that good stuff. I go live on Instagram a lot, making beats in here and things like that. So check it out, tune in, and I just want to make dope art with dope people. So
And my man actually plays these instruments. Like, there's a guitar right here. There's a keyboard right there. Like, my man actually plays his own instruments, makes his own music. So listen to my man. Brandon, thank you.
Thank you, man. It's awesome.
I feel like I'm getting back to feeling like myself. I feel like I'm getting back to being motivated.
That's so good. I'm glad I got that.
So hopefully I can stick to my word about getting my art back to you guys throughout the end of the year. I've had people cancel on me. I've had a couple things fall through that no matter when I've seen to try, it's like another obstacle. But my 15 seconds, hurdles are there for you to get over, get under, go around. Even if you hit the hurdle, you still get past it, right? No matter what, guys, we are in the final quarter of the year, the fourth quarter of the year.
Too. Yeah. One more thing, just everybody be good to themselves. Like, I think there's a lot going on, but take care of yourself. You know, do what you need to do for your mental health and for your physical health, and don't worry what everybody else thinks too much. Just do what you gotta do for yourself.
Word.
And,
finish the year strong, bro.
Finish the year strong.
Finish the fourth quarter, I think, unless you're Patrick Mahomes, nobody could have seen 2020 coming. So we've all had a tough year. Finish the year strong. You owe it to yourself.
Treat others well. Just treat others with respect.
Word. And on that note, it's a wrap. It's another episode. Cut.
Go Lakers.